But part of the WTA is obviously the very intense competition you have with all of your other opponents. In the midst of all of this competition, have you developed any
The dirt debut that could change everything. Eala's Philippine takeover of the 2026 clay season starts now. Welcome back to Court Vision Plus, the one and only place on the entire internet where the tennis never stops, the drama never sleeps, and the storylines hit harder than a Yelena Ostapenko forehand down the line. If you are new here, buckle up and hit that subscribe button immediately because you have stumbled onto something special. And if you are part of the Court Vision Plus family already, you already know what time it is. We are about to go deep, we are about to go dramatic, and we are about to break down a story that has the entire tennis world collectively holding its breath. The clay season has arrived, ladies and gentlemen, and the Philippine queen herself, Alexandra Eala, has touched down in Linz, Austria, ready to start the most important stretch of her young career. This is not a warm-up. This is not a tune-up. This is the opening statement of a clay campaign that could define the next decade of women's tennis, and it is happening right now. Let's set the scene properly, because the atmosphere surrounding this tournament deserves every ounce of your attention. The Upper Austria Ladies Linz Open is a WTA 500 event, which means big points, big names, and absolutely zero room for error. This year's draw reads like a who's who of tennis royalty. You have defending champion Ekaterina Alexandrova lurking. You have the top seed and current world number 10 Mira Andreeva, who swooped in on a late wildcard entry and immediately became the tournament favorite. You have Emma Raducanu, beloved by every tennis fan on the planet, looking to make some noise. And then, sitting in Alex's exact section of the draw like a loaded trap waiting to spring shut, you have the 2017 French Open champion, the reigning 2024 Linz Open champion, the human highlight reel who plays tennis like she is personally offended by every single ball that lands on her side of the net. Yelena Ostapenko. Yes. That Yelena Ostapenko. But we will get to her in a moment, because before Eala gets anywhere near the Latvian powerhouse, she has an appointment with destiny right here, right now, on the indoor clay of the Design Center Linz. Her opponent? Austria's own Julia Grabher. Her crowd? Guaranteed to be hostile, raucous, and entirely against her. Her mindset? Ice cold and absolutely ready. Now, before anyone even thinks about underestimating what it means to play the home favorite on Austrian soil, let us be very clear about the scene that is going to unfold inside that arena. The Austrian crowd is going to show up and show out for Julia Grabher in a way that would make even the most seasoned professional uncomfortable. These European indoor clay arenas create this incredible, suffocating atmosphere where every unforced error from the visitor gets celebrated and every winner from the local hero ignites the entire building. It is theatrical, it is intense, and it is designed to rattle a player's composure right down to its foundation. And Grabher, to her credit, is no pushover. She is a grizzled professional who reached a WTA Tour final in 2023 and at her peak cracked the top 50 in the world rankings. She knows how to play in front of her home crowd, she knows how to use that energy as fuel, and on clay, which is a surface she has been grinding on for years, she is absolutely capable of causing a massive upset if she is given even an inch of daylight. But here is the thing about all of that noise, all of that hostile energy, all of that crowd pressure bearing down on Eala's shoulders. It genuinely does not matter. Not even a little bit. Because this is a young woman who played in front of a capacity crowd in the Philippine Open earlier this season with the weight of an entire nation resting on her racket strings, and she handled it like a seasoned champion. This is a player who has been closing out tight matches in WTA 1000 events all season long, who carries herself on the court with a composure and a maturity that belies her 20 years on this planet. And the numbers simply do not lie. Eala is currently sitting at world number 46, ranked a full 43 places above her Austrian opponent. She enters this tournament with a remarkable 14 wins against only 8 losses across her 2026 season so far, having won 7 of her last 10 matches. Grabher, meanwhile, has managed just 3 wins against 8 defeats this year and has not won back-to-back matches at any tournament in 2026. The rankings tell the story, the form chart confirms it, and the betting markets have already spoken loudly, making Eala the heavy favorite to advance. When you look at the cold, hard data, this is not a coin flip. This is a test of whether Eala can do what her talent demands she should do, on a surface where she has historically struggled. And that word, struggled, is where this storyline gets genuinely fascinating, because this is not just a story about a dominant player coming into a tournament as the expected winner. This is a redemption arc playing out in real time. The clay court record tells an honest and uncomfortable truth about where Eala is in her development on this surface. In 2025, she failed to get past the second round in all 4 clay events she entered. She lost in the round of 16 at a WTA 125 event in Portugal, got bounced in the round of 64 at the Madrid Open, and suffered a brutal first-round exit at the French Open, losing to Emiliana Arango at Roland Garros in what was her Grand Slam debut on the dirt. For a player of her caliber, trained since 2018 at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, those results sting. They sting not because they define her, but because they represent a gap between the incredible promise of her clay court pedigree and the actual results she has produced when it matters most. The clay is supposed to be in her DNA. Eight years of training on the sun-baked courts of the greatest clay court institution in the history of the sport, under the philosophical roof built by Rafael Nadal himself, should mean something. The heavy topspin is there. The sliding footwork is there. The tactical intelligence to construct a point across multiple shots is absolutely there. The problem, and this is something that the ESPN analysts put their finger on perfectly in their preview of her clay campaign, is that translating those technical foundations into match results requires a specific psychological adjustment that only competitive reps can truly build. You can hit 1,000 topspin forehands in practice on the dirt, but until you have navigated 15 gut-wrenching clay court matches under real pressure, something is always going to feel slightly off. The 2026 clay season is where theory finally becomes application. This Linz Open is where the Rafa Nadal Academy graduate either begins to fulfill that legacy on the surface where it was built, or faces another difficult question about whether clay will remain her Achilles heel all the way to Roland Garros. The good news, and there is genuinely a lot of it, is that the woman stepping onto the clay courts of Linz on April 7th is categorically not the same player who struggled so visibly on the dirt last season. The Eala of 2026 is a fundamentally more complete, more confident, and more dangerous version of herself than the one who walked off court at Roland Garros in defeat.
Third chance.
She began this year by tearing apart the hard court season with a ferocity that left the WTA field scrambling to adjust. She made it to the semifinals in Auckland in January. She then ripped through the Dubai Tennis Championships draw all the way to the quarterfinals. She pushed deep into the Indian Wells draw, reaching the round of 16. And then came the Miami Open, where she went on a stunning, crowd-electrifying run all the way to the 4th round, beating some serious names along the way before running into a Karolina Muchova who was, frankly, playing in a different dimension that day. The scoreline of 6-0, 6-2 was brutal and unflattering, but it should not define what was an extraordinary fortnight in Florida. Reaching a career-high ranking of world number 29 on the back of that season validated everything. She is genuinely one of the most exciting players on the tour right now, and the entire tennis world knows it. That Miami exit did come with a numerical sting attached. Because she had reached the semifinal in Miami in 2025, she was defending a significant chunk of ranking points that could not be replicated by a round of 16 finish this year. The result was an inevitable slide down the rankings from her career high of number 29 all the way back to 46, which is where she stands today as she walks into this Linz draw. But here is the beautiful reality that should have every Filipino tennis fan absolutely buzzing with excitement right now. She has no points left to defend for the rest of the season. Every single match she wins from this point forward is pure, unadulterated ranking gain. Every win in Linz, every win in Stuttgart at the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix, every win at the Mutua Madrid Open, the Italian Open in Rome, all of it is bonus. All upside. And that means the pressure, counterintuitively, is actually lighter than it might appear. She is free to play aggressive, free to take risks, free to swing for the fences without the psychological anchor of defending a mountain of points pulling her down. So back to the immediate drama, because the draw for this Linz Open is something that a Hollywood screenwriter could not have cooked up better if they tried. Pass grab her, and the reward is a second-round matchup against fourth seed Yelena Ostapenko, one of the most electrifying, unpredictable, and absolutely must-watch players in the history of the WTA Tour. Now on the surface, Ostapenko looms as a terrifying outfit. She is the 2017 French Open champion, which means she has already held up the Coupe Suzanne Lenglen and kissed the golden trophy at Roland Garros. She is a former Linz Open champion herself, having demolished Ekaterina Alexandrova 6-2, 6-3 in the Linz final just 2 years ago. And just last year at the 2025 Stuttgart Open, she went on arguably one of the most jaw-dropping title runs in recent WTA memory, defeating Iga Swiatek, Ekaterina Alexandrova, and Aryna Sabalenka all in the same week on clay to claim the title. That is not a draw. That is a statement of absolute clay court dominance. If you needed proof that Ostapenko on clay is a genuinely frightening prospect, that Stuttgart run is your exhibit A, B, and C. But here is the twist that makes this potential matchup so incredibly spicy and so deeply compelling for Alex Eala fans everywhere. Yelena Ostapenko and Alexandra Eala have already met twice on the WTA Tour. And both times, it was the Philippine Queen who walked away with the victory. The first encounter came at the 2025 Miami Open, where Eala overcame Ostapenko in a tight, tension-filled two-setter, 7-6, 7-5, en route to her sensational semifinal run. And then, just a few months later at the Eastbourne Open on the grass courts of southern England, they met again in the round of 16. Eala was in the process of winning that match convincingly when Ostapenko retired due to injury. 2 meetings, 2 wins for Eala. The head-to-head is emphatically in her favor. Now, does that mean Ostapenko on clay is the same proposition as Ostapenko on hard court or grass? Absolutely not. Clay slows the ball down, extends rallies, and takes some of the shock value away from the Latvian's flat-hitting, all-or-nothing style. But Eala's brain is already wired with the knowledge that she can beat this player. That confidence is not nothing. That is a weapon in itself. Imagine the second-round matchup for a moment. Ostapenko, ranked number 23 in the world, standing at the baseline, hair tied back, face set in that familiar expression of absolute fierce concentration, loading up a forehand that arrives on the other side of the net at 100 miles per hour with no topspin and no margin. And on the other side of the net, a left-handed 20-year-old from the Philippines, calmly bouncing the ball before her serve, measuring the angles, computing the geometry of every possible return. 2 entirely different philosophies of tennis colliding on the red dust of Austria. Ostapenko wants to obliterate the rally before it has a chance to develop. Eala wants to extend it, construct it, and win it with intelligence. It would be appointment television of the very highest order, and the fact that it might happen in just the second round of this tournament speaks to exactly how loaded this section of the draw truly is. And should she somehow navigate that gauntlet, the path does not exactly get easier. Waiting in the quarterfinals would likely be either 7th seed and Lee or British fan favorite Katie Boulter, both of whom are dangerous players capable of causing significant problems on any surface. A semifinal run would almost certainly mean a date with top seed Mira Andreeva, the world number 10 and one of the most naturally gifted players on the entire tour right now, who has put together a brilliant 14-6 record in 2026 and has been playing with a maturity and a firepower that is utterly alarming for the rest of the field. A potential Lens final against defending champion Alexandrova is the dream scenario at the end of that gauntlet. The tournament director, Sandra Reichel, has already gone on record calling Eala an amazing player ahead of the tournament's opening rounds, which is a notable level of public appreciation for a player in a field that includes multiple Grand Slam champions and former world number ones. That kind of institutional recognition from the people who run these events says everything about the status Alex Eala has earned within the sport. What makes all of this feel so momentous beyond just the tennis is the backdrop against which it is all unfolding. There are 45 players in the WTA ranking system right now who have spent their entire careers ahead of Alexandra Eala on the leaderboard. Many of them have been professional longer. Many of them come from countries with far greater tennis infrastructure, far bigger coaching budgets, and far more established pathways to the top of the sport. And yet here is a young woman from Manila who taught herself to love the game, found her way to a prestigious European academy, and through sheer relentless work and an iron will to compete, has rewritten every benchmark and broken every record in Philippine tennis history. The entire nation's tennis community has been transformed by what she has done. An entire generation of young Filipino players is picking up a racket right now because of the inspiration she has provided. That is not just a sports story. That is a cultural movement wearing a tennis dress. The players' party earlier this week was already generating buzz across the tennis media, with photos of Alex stepping out alongside major stars like Paula Badosa and Mira Andreeva in traditional Austrian dirndl making the rounds on social media and sending the Filipino internet absolutely wild. The glamour and the glitz of the off-court celebrations are over now, though. The cameras and the lights of the party are gone. What remains is a racket, a clay court, 40 years of Philippine tennis history watching from the stands in spirit, and a 20-year-old who has spent 8 years preparing for exactly this moment. The European clay season does not wait for anyone, and it does not ease you in gently. You get thrown into the deep end immediately, and you either swim or you get swallowed whole. Alex Eala is not here to tread water. She is here to swim all the way to Roland Garros, and the Lens Open is the first chapter of that story. The road from Lens runs through Stuttgart, Madrid, and Rome before it ultimately arrives at the red clay of Roland Garros, where the ghosts of last year's first-round exit are waiting to be exorcised. Every match in the next 6 weeks is a building block. Every rally won on the dirt is a deposit into the confidence account she will need to draw from when she walks out onto court Philippe Chatrier at the French Open. Her schedule after Lens is stacked in the way only an ambitious player who genuinely believes they belong among the elite would book themselves. The Porsche Tennis Grand Prix in Stuttgart, the Mutua Madrid Open where the altitude and the slow bouncing clay creates a completely different challenge, the Italian Open in Rome, and then the grandest stage in all of clay court tennis. If Eala can build momentum through these events, pick up wins, absorb the lessons, and arrive at Roland Garros with her tail up and her game firing on all cylinders, the possibilities are genuinely limitless.
And then just globally, do you have a sense of, sorry, I'm not trying to give you an ego here, but like if you look at the numbers on YouTube for like the pre-tournament press conferences, how much people watch them, yours is at like 170.
The whole story is still being written. The red ink of the Lens draw is still wet. And right now, on April 7th, 2026, at the Design Center in Linz, Austria, Alexandra Maniego Eala is walking out onto that clay court for the first time this season, and an entire country is waking up early, pouring their coffee, and pointing their phones at the streaming link to watch every single point unfold. That is the power of what she has built. That is the legacy that is being etched into the history of this sport with every passing week. The dirt debut is not just a tennis match. It is the beginning of something that could be truly, permanently historic. Now, Court Vision Plus family, you know we do not let you go without making some noise in the comments section, and today I need your absolute hottest takes. Is Alex Eala going to silence the Austrian crowd and take care of Julia Grabher in straight sets, or does the hostile home atmosphere and the difficult clay surface create a genuine upset scare? And if she gets through, are you buying that she can do what no one has managed to do this entire season on clay, which is walk into Elena Ostapenko's comfort zone on the dirt and come out with a win? Would a victory over the French Open champion on clay be the biggest win of Alex Eala's career to date? Drop everything you have got in the comments right now, because I want to read every single prediction, and I will be in there sparring with you all week as this tournament unfolds. If this video got your blood pumping and your tennis heart racing, do the Court Vision Plus family a favor and absolutely demolish that like button, because it tells YouTube that this content deserves to be seen by every tennis fan on the planet. Hit subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss a single breakdown, result, or piece of sizzling WTA gossip as this clay season heats up all the way to Paris. We are tracking Alex Eala every step of the way through Linz, Stuttgart, Madrid, Rome, and ultimately Roland Garros, and you do not want to be the one who missed the moment it all clicked. Stay locked in. I will see you in the next one.
Alex, congratulations. Defeating a former champion. Fantastic scenes as well out there, and the way you closed out. How are you feeling after getting the win out there today?